President Trump's push to crack down on illegal immigration still going strong, with detainments by ICE agents continuing around the U.S. And the first deportation flights taking off from what's known as Alligator Alcatraz in Florida this past Friday. While many are praising the administration's efforts, many others are questioning it, even protesting the methods. Joining us on the Pulse tonight, conservative commentator Aaron Tobin. We also have Waterford School Board trustee John Paul Torres, who worked on the 2002 DREAM Act. His father came here undocumented and ended up giving a lot back to this country. And we thank you both for joining us here on the Pulse tonight.
Thank you.
John Paul, a little bit about your story, because it's interesting. Not only are you a trustee out there in Waterford at the schools, you also have your own story of how that undocumented story can end up.
Yes, my father came here across the board in the 1960s, undocumented, made his way up to Detroit, was a farm worker in California, was inspired by the civil rights movement, learned English, got his citizenship, joined the United States Army. So the beauty of it is the American dream and the American story. Went on to have me and my brothers. My daughter is an attorney. She's worked at the Department of Justice. I'm an elected leader. Both my brothers are college educated. So it's the dream of my father that came forward and has become the reality of America today.
A dream that started in an undocumented fashion. Aaron Tobin, you know that there are so many stories, and John Paul and his family put a face to the other side of the story that we don't hear about often, especially in the national news. Do you think that's a problem, that we only see one image of the undocumented person as someone who's a danger to America, someone who's here to hurt us?
Well, unfortunately, we see it in the news daily that there's undocumented illegal aliens that are here taking advantage of our system and inflicting crime and getting into corruption. His family is the cream of the crop. These are the people that we want, much like my mother, who came to this country as an immigrant fleeing from the Nazis when she was 9 years old. She embraced America, wanted to be American, wanted to be an American success story. These are not what we had flooding over the border under Biden. Tens of millions of people that are undocumented.
Let me ask you this. President Trump himself in recent months came out and said, when it comes to farm workers, people in agriculture and hospitality, we have to take a step back at the way we're looking at these deportations and these arrests. There's something that you're talking about here that I feel smacks true with what the president said, which is not everybody is bad. So many of these people hold up the weight of the world when it comes to our economy. Do you see that as well? These workers, the farmers, the people who work in hospitality?
Yes, but there's legal programs. There's farm workers that are legal programs. When they did the raid a few weeks ago in California for marijuana harvesting, there were child laborers going on there. I think everyone, both sides of the aisle, should be against child laborers, against child sex trafficking, which has been going on over the years. We had over 400,000 children under 5 come across the border under Biden. A lot of them just had a phone number, Sharpie markered on their skin or on their clothing, and that's where they shipped them off to.
And so, John Paul, in June of this past year, there were 6,000 apprehensions in 1 month. And we understand in 2023, according to records from the feds, there were 10,000 on any given day at the highest peak there. Do you think this administration has delivered on his promise to try to siphon that off?
Well, I think Trump's taken advantage of the idea that he's gauging 3,000 immigrants a day that he's going to detain. He's talking about 1 million in a year. And I think what he's doing is he's taking advantage of the situation and making it sound as though that all these immigrants are bad. You mentioned that raid that happened at the marijuana field in California. Another individual was detained in that field. His name was George Redis, a United States Army veteran, American citizen. He was detained for 3 days by ICE. Family didn't know where he was. Those are the kinds of things that are happening in this country. People like myself and my family and people that look like us being targeted, people who speak different languages. And I think when Trump goes in and he detains these individuals at 3,000 a day, and you look at Biden and Obama and what they did, they looked more at actually getting criminal actors. They actually went and did what Trump says he's doing. Trump's just rounding up everybody. All the data shows is that about 1/3 of the individuals that are being detained have no criminal record. The other 1/3 about 2/3 actually. The other 2/3 actually have very low-level crimes, traffic offenses, police contact, loitering for standing at a Home Depot waiting to do construction, and then maybe the few that are the bad actors that should be deported.
So let's talk about President Obama for a moment here. Aaron Tobin, we know that he deported so many more people during his term. But again, what John Paul is saying is that he deported the people who actually were the bad actors. Is there a better approach?
President Obama, you mean the deporter-in-chief? He deported so many people, that was his nickname.
But his point is that in deporting so many people, so many of those people were bad actors,
when the illegal
not just the folks
aliens
working.
are here in the country illegally, they are already breaking our laws. This California marijuana raid where someone was detained, it's because there was illegal people there, there was child trafficking going on there, child labor going on there. Until they straightened out what was going on there, they detained people. There are so many people being detained, and I have a cousin that's in the medical field. He is not a fan of President Trump. But when I mention how President Trump has cracked down and how the fentanyl has stopped coming into this country, I said, isn't that something good that President Trump did? He did. He said, you know what, I'm not a fan of Trump, but that alone, I think I would vote for him again.
John Paul, when you look at the fentanyl and also the bill that was just passed, I think a week and a half ago, that basically made it into a new class, into an old class, so to speak, a Schedule I drug. Is that good news as well?
I think it's great news. You know, I think the fentanyl issue is a problem. So I work in criminal justice. I work on the probation end in the courts. I was a probation officer for many years out in the field, past 10 years or so in more management and administration. I see the fentanyl crisis on a daily basis. I saw the heroin epidemic during the 2010s on a daily basis as a probation officer. And when you look at the fentanyl that's coming into this country, all the data shows that that fentanyl is coming into legal ports of entry, meaning it's being brought in by trucks, by cars, by individuals, in many instances American citizens that are coming across. It's not coming on the backs of the undocumented.
But it is also coming in through the southern border, right? And we know
it is
that
coming from the southern
border.
border. But one of the things that I look at is in 2024, when we had the comprehensive immigration reform that was going to be passed that Trump killed so that he could get reelected, when they brought that forward, in there was monies that would be allocated for cutting-edge fentanyl detection devices at the border. That didn't happen. That didn't happen because Trump killed the bill.
That's a Democratic talking point.
It's not a Democratic talking point.
The Democrats were saying, we can't do anything about the border until we pass this law. All we had to do was change presidents and the border was sealed.
Aaron Tobin, we thank you as usual for your perspective here. John Paul as well. Thank you for your time. We can only start to begin to scratch the surface. We'll talk more, the three of us, sometime soon. Remember, if there's a question or topic you want covered, just email us on thepulse@fox.com. You can also catch more of our interviews right there online. I'm Roop Raj. As always, it was great to be with you.